Telling you, man,
Right.
whole world's going to shit.
I know, and I got these fucking boils on my ass. No medication available. Shit, are we live?
Welcome everyone to the 10K Run podcast. My name is Amos Joseph, joined by my co-host Brook Potter. How's it going, man?
Amos, I've had this very annoying sound in my ear like since yesterday. I don't know if you've had this experience. It's been this weird noise that's just kind of been buzzing on something about like International's Women's Day. I don't know if you've been familiar with this noise, but it's really getting annoying now. And I might have to get some professional help or something, to deal with this nonsense. How are you doing?
I just woke up, so I'm still dealing with the stupid thing called daylight savings.
I know that caught me by surprise as well because we don't change our clocks until the end of March. You guys changed it when?
Today.
Oh shit. Okay, so you've lost an hour, right? You spring forward, right?
Yeah, I mean it's two birds with one stone of a shit day. You got International Women's Day, and you lose an hour of sleep.
Is it International Women's Day there for you? Because I think
Yeah,
it was yesterday. I don't know if it's today or yesterday.
it's the 8th for us, so
I
that's
think it's
when
the
it is.
7th for us. So I think it was yesterday for us. Yeah, that was my Russian was very keen to remind me of that. And my response was like, "Yay, vaginas!" And she didn't take that very well. But it's a kind of a running joke because she's been sending me all of these tranny videos, and I'm like, wait, no, I could make a joke about vaginas getting a holiday, and you're sending me like dick chicks, and one is funny and one's not. Like, what the fuck? Are you a tranny? Like, do you got dick?
Oh boy. Oh man.
Yeah. Yeah, she hasn't quite responded to that.
um yeah. I do apologize last week, everyone, for us did we? Yeah, last
Yeah,
week.
we missed out last week.
Missed out last week. Yeah, we I had some stuff to take care of, but we're good to go this week. Um but yeah, we missed a little bit of stuff. I mean, a whole bunch of presidential candidates dropped out.
Thank God.
Um and what's her face? Tulsi Gabbard is still in the race, but they
Is
changed
she?
the criteria for the debate um just in time to exclude her. Did you hear about this?
Really? I did not hear about this.
So
When is the next debate?
it's coming up soon. But basically, like every time they do a debate, presidential debate among the Democratic candidates, like they've pretty much stuck with certain criteria like fundraising goals, poll goals, stuff like that. So they actually dialed it down to include Bloomberg
Right, they
last time,
relax the rules kind of thing. Sure.
and they tightened up the rules to exclude Tulsi.
Really? On the same debate?
No. In this new one coming
Right.
up, because
Okay, I guess.
she's actually gaining more traction now because she's all that she's. There's pretty much it's just Biden and Bernie and her. That's it.
Right. So Pocahontas has stepped out.
Yep.
Booty Judge,
Out.
out. Bloomberg is by far the biggest loser,
He's out.
spending what $500 million,
Yeah,
and
he's out.
he didn't even he's gone. I think he got American Samoa. I think he got some delegates in American Samoa. Good on him. I mean, he probably paid everybody to vote for him on the island.
Yep.
Who else were the big? I don't remember anybody the other big ones. Well, all right. So Tulsi is still in. That's good to know. Bernie Sanders, I heard he on Super Tuesday he won California, if I'm not mistaken. Did he win anything else?
It was pretty split between him and Biden, I think, from what I saw.
Was it? He got other states.
Yeah, I mean, people are trying to like paint it like Bernie lost, but it's only because Biden is such a more. I don't even know what the heck is going on with Biden. I mean, Biden is, the thing.
Yes, it's called dementia.
Yeah. Apparently, some people have been making some diagnoses over the internet, just like this guy is actually losing it. Granted, you're not really supposed to do that as a mental health, person. You're not, as a doctor, you're not supposed to diagnose over the internet with limited info. But
Yeah,
some people are
exactly.
coming out and saying like, yeah, this definitely looks like something. Um, and we'll just say, our mutual friend who really likes Bernie but
Uh
can't vote
huh.
for him,
Uh huh.
um, is acknowledging that Biden has a good chance of getting the nomination, and if he does, Trump's winning.
Well, I
He's
mean,
understanding that that's going to be the fact, and he's just like, yeah,
I don't think however you slice it, I think Trump is winning. Right. If it's a Biden
true.
Trump,
Bernie at least
it's
has a chance.
no. Bernie has no chance. And the reason he has no chance is because Florida will never vote for a socialist because of the heavy Hispanic run in. They need Florida. That's a very big swing state. Texas, sure as fucking voting for a socialist. Ohio, not voting for a socialist. The unions have abandoned him. And those are the big three. I mean, California will vote for Bernie, right? He'll walk away with it. You know, you could put
Yeah,
a Democratic symbol on a pile of shit and they'll still vote for the pile of shit in California. New York possibly, but there is a lot of farmland in New York, and they're not too keen on this idea. So I don't think Bernie, the math just doesn't work for Bernie. I might be wrong. Like I don't know the particulars of every state, but I know some of the big ones that they would need, including Michigan and what's another big one for the Democrats. Um, I can't think of it offhand, but the big ones, no, those are like working class people. They don't want this fucking higher taxes and paying for freeloaders and more immigration and all that kind of shit. No, they're not doing it. Which is, I guess, why he didn't carry all of those states.
yeah. Excuse me. Yeah. Well, we'll see. I
We'll
mean,
see.
I'm
I mean, it'd
just
be great if
it's
he did. It would be so entertaining. Oh my god.
yeah. Yeah. It's funny. Everyone was just pushing like old white men, old white men. Look what we have now, old white men.
Yeah. Yeah, they're gonna lose all of the like the blacks are abandoning the party. A lot of Hispanics, the Cubans are gone. The young people are not going to vote for a straight white male. Um,
What's
it's
even funnier is that even the mainstream news is like, oh, all that's left in the Democrats is straight white males, and they don't even point out that Tulsi is still in.
really, yeah, that's a good point.
They don't even talk about that. Like she's in. I mean, she's running still,
Yeah, is she going to be on
and
the debate stage at the next event?
that's what we just said. They changed the rules to
Oh,
exclude
so
her
completely exclude it. Oh, that's really shit then.
when they've actually done it the other way to change the rules to include Bloomberg. So it's just like, you know,
Yeah. I thought that
but
was
the
the
end.
previous debate. I didn't know that was the next one that was coming up.
Just when you thought that there was a travesty against Bernie in 2016, now there's a travesty against Tulsi in 2020. It's just just the kind of the nature of the beast, I guess.
I mean, the complete hypocrisy of the left in this respect, at least the Bernie Bros. Um, they're talking about uh, how the system is rigged and you need to have the popular vote and there shouldn't be any kind of electoral college and this, that, and the other and stuff like that. And yet now that it shows that Bernie is not winning the popular vote, right? He is not the front runner, and all of this stuff about who's getting more delegates and whatever. Now they're saying, oh, it's rigged as well. It's rigged both ways. It's just rigged against
Yeah.
Bernie. Whether you do or you don't, you're damned. And it's like these guys have absolutely no principles and no convictions.
Oh yeah, and then they're also kind of backing. They're not really questioning the idea that Bernie full on just said, "I will, and if I don't win, I will endorse whoever's nominated."
Well, he has.
Basically, if the system fails me, I will back the system,
Well,
even
he
though the
has
system
to.
is rigged.
Yeah. I mean, Trump did the same thing well, not Trump. Like all the other candidates that he was running against, Giuliano, who was the New
Julian.
Jersey.
Well, here's the thing: Trump didn't make those types of promises. Like I'm gonna, kind of. He didn't say like "fuck the other candidates." Like Bernie is very much pushing that. Like, I'm the guy. We're gonna fight the system. We're gonna have a grassroots movement. And then I lose, and I'm gonna back the guy that is totally the establishment. Like Trump was just like, I don't care what's going on. I'm doing my own thing.
Yeah.
And then he won, and then he didn't have to be bothered with having to endorse anyone else.
In fact, now that I'm thinking about it, when Trump was on the debate stage, I think one of his first appearances for the Republicans, I think there was a question posed to the audience if they would like agree to back whoever the Republican Party, would nominate.
Mm-hmm.
And he was the only person who raised his hand to say, "No, fuck it, I'm not going to do that. I'm not just going to give my endorsement away." I might be wrong. I have to go back and look at that debate and see what it is. And everybody expected him to do it, and he just raised his hand. I don't even think he understood the question. But that's just the kind of guy he is. And I would love to see Trump go up against either one of them, Biden or Bernie.
Right.
It would be a shit show. It would be an absolute shit show. God, I gotta stay up and watch some of these debates live. It's gonna be so good.
Now, speaking of shit shows, we're still subjecting ourselves to the torture of watching Star Trek Picard.
Yes. I've been subjecting myself to also watching the torture, which is Deep Space Nine season 2. But that's a whole other discussion.
Oh God.
Yeah, it's so cringe.
Don't criticize my show.
It's picked up in season 3 with, you say, the Dominion conflict. So I'm kind of watching that, but I really just skipped ahead a lot of this stuff. It's kind of like, I don't care about this. I don't care. The Bajorans are boring. This, that, and the other. Cardassian, whatever the fuck they're called. I don't care. But now it's kind of getting spicy. It's like, ooh, Dominion. All right, that sounds interesting. That sounds sexy.
Political intrigue. Shit like that. Yeah.
Spying and cloaking devices. They're taking Romulan shit. That was okay. I see what's going on here. This is interesting. Back to Picard.
Yeah. Well, fuck. What happened in so episode 6 we briefly talked about. Basically, Picard makes it to the cube, the Borg cube.
Yes.
And they actually
slipped on some member berries. Got in there, met Soji, the other Data android, at least the other daughter of Data, which is like, I don't get how they're really playing that up. I also watched, like, I was telling you before the show, I was watching some like videos about the internal consistencies of the canon and all that, and how it just makes no sense. Yeah.
Like, you know how they kept like, oh, if you could find like one small, like an individual memory cell,
like a positronic data,
you could reconstitute the entire data. And I'm like, yeah, because I can just take one byte of information and reconstitute thousands of gigabytes. Right.
Yeah. That made that, as much as I understand, I mean, there's so much magic in this Star Trek series, if for want of a better word. It's also pissing me off. Remember the Irish Romulan chick had that super scanner that could like replay the past by reading particles in the air or whatever the fuck it was. Mm-hmm. Magic, that's like, oh yeah, this, it's like, fuck investigations.
At least give us a little bit of, technobabble to like, like make it a little bit believable. But no, fuck that. Like, they're just going to go against everything with it. Yeah. And so, and it's funny too, because then, so like the end of episode 6, they find this like special room where there's a, basically what's considered like a transporter that the Sicarians... A Stargate. Yeah, they can go 40,000 light years. And no one realizes that the Borg, why the Borg didn't use this to
conquer the galaxy.
Exactly.
Why are they flying around in cubes?
Well, here's another thing about those cubes. One of the things, so there was that Romulan guy that was trying to seduce Soji to get information out of her.
Right.
The weird Romulan spy. So he like says, "Oh, this is a relic because as soon as the subspace link is cut, the Borg immediately abandon the ship. They don't even know this cube exists." And then it like cuts. This is a video I was watching. Then it cuts back to all the Next Generation episodes that are like, they don't they don't like leave their dead. They recover all of the stolen technology to make sure nothing
It
gets
doesn't
is
fall in
yeah.
enemy hands.
But no, in this episode, just they just fuck it.
Fuck away with that. Who gives a shit about canon? Nobody cares.
Yeah. And then I mean, I saw some other things um like how Discovery got the Klingons wrong.
Yes, the Klingons are completely different in Star Trek.
Well,
Discovery.
even just their culture too. So like in Next Generation and DS9 and such, they start to really point out that like, okay, if a Klingon dies, the Klingon's regarded as an empty shell. And they say just treat it as such. Discovery comes along and goes, ooh, they're collecting their dead. Ooh, they have burial rituals. They have sarcophagus. It's like they turned them into Egyptians for some reason.
And they stick them on the ship. I don't know if you saw that episode.
Yeah. It's just like, oh, Jesus.
I have to admit, that was pretty metal, though. That was pretty hardcore when I saw that. As like,
there we go.
It's like it's kind of like what the pirates used to do back in the day. They'd hang the skeletons of the people they've killed and whatever on the sides of the ship to give like intimidation. I mean, it totally, as you say, it fucked with the canon, but I have to admit, I was like, yeah, that's pretty fucking metal, though, man. Put your dead on the outside of shielding. I love it.
yeah, it's just all sorts of weird shit they're doing.
I mean, none of this is Star Trek. I think that's the bottom line. Just the STD and Picard, there's no hope. The whole point of Gene Roddenberry's vision was a hopeful future. And I love
everything sucks all the time now.
I know, and I told you, I actually went back and I watched the Orville, and I love, right? So in Star Trek Discovery, you haven't watched it, but there's a whole thing around is it the telomere? What is it? It's a big bug, a space bug that's used to transport the Discovery instantaneously through space, right? I can't remember what it's called.
The
spore telomere. Drive? But the spore drive, but the thing that drives the spore drive is a big insect, right? And I can't remember what it's called, a telomere or something. And in fact, there's a whole lawsuit with that because there's a video game by the same name and a lot of the stuff is being copied. But there's one in the Orville, and I saw the episode, and what's this? The Moclan, which of course is like a mocking Klingon, right? So it's a Moclan.
Yep.
Comes and he's looking for like a sexual whatever, and he goes to one of those big telomere things, and he's like, yeah, I hear you guys do like these really powerful sexual VR episodes, and I need Moclans. I just need lots of Moclans and whatever.
I'm just gonna keep talking, but I'm just gonna do this.
Okay. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, so right, so he comes and he's asking this, I think it's called a telomere, and he's like, yeah, we do the best things in stuff like that in the galaxy, no problem. And the absolute jab of the Orville fucking over Star Trek Discovery is the telomere gives the program to the Moclan, and the Moclan gives the spaceship an STD. Right? It gives the ship a virus.
Oh boy.
And I was like, oh my God, that is such clever writing. I don't know if anybody picked up on that, but that's exactly how I felt when I saw the episode.
I mean, for Seth MacFarlane to be such a huge fan of Star Trek,
and watch it go to shit.
And watching it go to shit, he's gonna throw in his jabs to be like, yeah. And I watched some of these videos that's showing the inconsistencies between Picard, Discovery, and the original shows. And I like how in the comments, like a lot of people are acknowledging, like, yeah, because in Gene Roddenberry's Star Trek was meant to help you escape the world. You watch it and you feel like you're in a different world that is better. Now, Picard and Discovery got to be like, oh, everything's a shit. You got everything's just as depressing as the real world, and actually worse somehow.
Yeah. No, it's completely messed up. It's completely messed up.
So someone actually in one of the videos doing these, they would jump cut, kind of just cut between different scenes, showing like just the inconsistencies, and then at the very end for like 5 seconds, they cut to a scene of the Orville going through space and playing the theme song. Kind of like, this show's obviously gets it, No,
it's very clever. It's very, very clever. Because I was so sick of Picard after watching, I think it was last week's episode. Now, I didn't see the entirety of episode 7. In fact,
let me just ruin it for you.
No, don't ruin it for me. I want to see if there's anything that actually like piques my interest. I was just in the first 20 minutes when I realized the times had changed and I had to cut it short. But I was so depressed by it. I said, I'm going to watch The Orville. I've always meant to, and like it's been queued to be watched for some time. I tried a little more discovering. It's like, no, fuck this shit. Season 2 fucking sucks. So I said, all right, I'll try The Orville. And that was the first time. And I watched it straight through for season 1 and season 2. And it's like, this is very, very clever television. Like, I don't know if people understand exactly how brilliant this show really is.
Yeah. I mean, at least in Picard in this episode, like, Riker's actually still okay. But there's just little subtle things about it. I told you about, like, he's not William T. Riker anymore.
Right, okay. I think, you said he hyphenated his last name or something like
Fucking
that.
hyphenated his name.
Right.
Like,
Gay.
really?
Yeah. That's some low T shit right there. I mean, let's not jump ahead to season what was that, episode 7? Yeah, so we're still on episode 6. The Stargate really fucked with me for a couple of reasons. Like exactly what you said. I think you and I had the conversation. It was like, if the Borg had this technology, why are they still trying to fly around in cubes? They could have, opened up a portal and just let the Borg go into whatever place and just assimilate the whole galaxy. So that was one thing. The fact that it was hidden and Picard and the synthetic go through. Why is it that the elf character, Elnor, whatever the fuck his name was, why is he staying behind to defend them, right?
Yeah, he next episode he's like basically defending Hugh.
Yeah, I saw a little bit of that. And again, I don't understand it. Like, all of them could have gone through the gate. And that would have kind of been the end of it. They wouldn't have needed to do all of that other stuff.
Now, I think it makes sense a little bit. So there's in episode 7, they do a little bit of explaining, like, Hugh has a tracking device on him. Like, everyone on the ship is tracked in some way.
Okay.
So they find out he does go to some room, and they're like, why did you go to this room? Apparently you were with Picard. Now Picard's gone. What's in that room?
I saw all of that.
Yeah, he just wouldn't talk. He wouldn't say what's there.
I saw that.
So that's probably why. Like, if he like disappeared in that room, they'd probably go there.
I'll tell you what really happened is the writers fucked up and they tried to cover their ass. So they came up with a very convenient plot device to try and curtail the fact that there was no reason for them to stay behind, and there was no reason for Elrond or anything. This is just it's weak. Yeah. It is so fucking weak.
It is. I mean, they have a little fun in episode 7, which I think is all right. I mean, there's a little. They talk a lot more about Data because Soji is there. She now realizes she's an android. All that stuff.
Yeah. I'll check it out. I mean, probably after the show, I'll give it a look. But as I say, so far, and the last gripe I had about episode 6 was the whole the curtailing of the Federation regarding Picard's clearance. So, of course, Picard is persona non grata to the Federation, apparently. And, he goes and he gets shouted at by, another woman and basically, pure fucking hubris and all this good stuff. They jump on whatever the ship is called, and they're flying into this Romulan space. And Raffi manages to pull up some, acquaintance that she knows at the Federation and is miraculously able to get Federation diplomatic papers for a one-day trip out to this cube for Picard. And I'm like, this show just has no fucking consistency, man. The inconsistency even within the same fucking episode. Like, Picard is there screaming about, oh yeah, the Borg are merciless killers and and all this other shit. And then he gets on the fucking cube. He's talking to Hugh and he's all enlightened, like, oh wow, decommissioned Borg. Wow, this is so amazing. This is great. And I'm like, dude, what the fuck is going on, man? Like, this is just
freaking
bullshit
First
in the same
Contact
episode.
really, because even First Contact really maximized how much he
He
absolutely
hated
was.
it.
Oh yeah, he hated the Borg so much. Granted, he had to get over that, but still,
Yeah.
you don't just. There's even parts where him and Seven of Nine were exchanging some conversations, like, yeah, how are you holding up? And he goes, well, it's only you try to get better every day, like obviously showing it's a struggle.
Yeah,
But then
correct.
he meets Hugh and they go in this cube and it's just it's all cool now.
This is all awesome. Oh, this is great. Disneyland, fuck me, man. This is just bullshit.
Fucking Borg Disneyland. Oh boy, that's funny.
So once I finish the next episode, we could probably discuss because I'm not traveling this week, so we can discuss the 2 episodes next week, if anything.
Yeah.
7
so
and 8.
7 and 8 and god damn it, 9 and 10.
Thank God it's almost over. That's how
you think we're gonna watch season 2 because it's already renewed for it?
Oh God, I don't know, man. I didn't watch the STD. I did not make it through season 2, and ironically, because it does have Christopher Pike in it, so they are trying to do a little bit of the member berries, and they're trying to make it a little more Star Trek. Okay, but they've completely retconned the character, and they've basically, as I think I've shared elsewhere, they've basically made him into, the reason he is how he is because of the Wahmens, because the women's. And it's like, I switched it off. I was like, I can't watch this shit anymore. Like, there's a scene they're flying through some asteroids and whatever, and Pike's ship gets hit. And they're like, we're going to rescue him, right, girls? Click. That was the moment. I think I was midway through episode 1 of season 2. It's like, I'm done. However, are we done with Picard? Because I do have a segue about another fucking disaster that's taken place in sci-fi last week.
Sure.
The end of Doctor Who as we know it. The absolute shit show of retcon that has completely destroyed 50 years of canon has taken place because Mark Chimble, I think is his fucking name, who's the showrunner, has no clue what the fuck he's doing. Now, I don't know if you're familiar with Doctor Who.
Well, I know there was that whole black women thing.
Right. Well, we've just discovered that I don't even know where to fucking begin with this. The Master, who is a classic enemy to the Doctor, confronts the Doctor and reveals the truth about the Doctor. And in revealing these memories, he shows that many centuries ago, before the Time Lords, which is supposed to be the race of the Doctors, of the Doctor and all these people who invented the TARDIS and stuff, before all of their grand empire and everything else, there was this woman who was an explorer who went to this planet and encountered this little black girl who was just alone on this planet. And then in the midst of that whole thing, the little girl gets into an accident and she dies. And for the first time, the Time Lord notices that the child regenerates. After which, this scientist dedicates themselves to discovering the technology on what it is that's causing the regeneration and put the child through basically child abuse, killing it over and over again and to study the regenerations. And eventually, the explorer discovers the secret, applies it to themselves, and she regenerates into, I think, a black man or something like that. And this is apparently how the Time Lords discovered the technology. And anyway, so they stole it basically from this child, and we don't know where this child, who this child is, what this child is doing, or anything like that. So you cut back to the modern scene, and the Doctor is now talking to the Masters, like, well, what happened to the child? The child with the infinite regenerations. And the Master basically says, you are the child. He basically points to the Doctor and says, well, you are the one permanent regenerating being. You're not a Time Lord. You are it, and you've had infinite regenerations in the past. So you could have been anything. You could be Chinese, you could be black, you could be a man, or a she-male, everything in between. completely destroying canon about how the Time Lords were only allowed to regenerate 12 times. They had a cycle. They completely destroyed, the origin story of William Hartnett, who played the first Doctor. He was the old man with the white hair and stuff like that. I mean, it's all gone up in smoke. It is completely gone up. Like, it's the end, right? These people have just shit on the entire series of this entire thing. In fact, there was an episode in season 12 with Matt Smith. He was a brilliant Doctor. I think I can't remember what it was called, but it was basically his last show. And he'd run out of regenerations. He was like, the character had regenerated 13 times. So he was like, time's up. This is it. And, on the episode, he gets old and he's fighting the very common, the Daleks, which are basically salt and pepper shakers on wheels. And at the end of it, the Time Lords in another dimension managed to send through a completely new regeneration cycle into the Doctor, which allows him to become the 13th Doctor and subsequently the 14th. If this infinite child was the case, you wouldn't have needed that. That's completely unnecessary. You would not have had that entire thing going on. So this a lot of the fandom, especially out here in the UK, are done. It's like, well, I refuse to watch. I watched the first couple episodes with Jodie Whittaker, maybe 3 or 4, and then it's the same thing. I had a moment like, fuck this shit, I'm turning it off. Some people have held on, but they're done. Like the consensus, even people who watch Doctor Who to review it, such as The Critical Drinker, for instance. I don't know if you know his channel on YouTube. The Critical Drinker, who reviews pop culture and movies and stuff like that. He's done Picard, he's done Doctor Who, has blatantly said, I will no longer be reviewing Doctor Who because I refuse to watch any more of this fucking train wreck. This fucking dumpster fire. It's over the top. It's done. Nerderotic, that's another big cultural review. He said the same thing. Like, I am done. Even Clownfish TV, which is, it's not even a very big channel. I'm done. Nobody's watching it anymore. And I think, and that was the season finale. It had the worst numbers, like the worst viewership of anything, this, because it's just a complete disaster. So, yes, nice to kiss Doctor Who goodbye after 50 years, the longest running sci-fi franchise on the fucking planet. They shit on it, and it's done.
Oh boy.
yeah. I don't have the patience for this. As I'm getting older, I'm almost 40. I didn't even watch the last Star Wars. It's like, no, fuck this. I do not need people shitting on the things that I've enjoyed so much. And I just don't have the patience for it anymore. Excuse me.
Yeah, no, I probably just have a little more. I mean, that's just me though. I'm the younger guy.
You're young, you got energy, you got time for this shit, man. I don't. I gotta watch my time.
Yeah, the show is, well, yeah. I'm surprised. I thought Picard, I figured Picard would be kind of, having their little moments, their little SJW inserts, but I didn't think it'd be this bad. And just the writing was, because, Patrick Stewart was playing it up so much. Oh, Alex Kurtzman. Oh, it's a great idea and a great show. I didn't want to come back unless it was done right. Dude, it's fucked up. Like,
it's a fucking mess. It is a fucking mess.
I only ever saw I think there was an episode so far that was directed by Jonathan Frakes.
They're called tardigrades. I think that's the bug thing that was in Discovery that is the Orville spooch is tardigrades. That it just came to me. So I just wanted to say that. Tardigrades.
There was an episode that Frakes did. He directed. And I remember, I forgot exactly which one it was, but it was basically when I look back on it, I was like, okay, it's barely salvageable. Like, Frakes respects the show enough that when he does it himself, he does it right.
Right.
But
he directed a Picard episode.
Yeah, he directed one.
Okay.
And it made it a little bit less unbearable. And in episode 7 with him in there, he actually, with all the stuff going on around him, all the cucking and all the stuff, how his character is still really good. Like, he's still very, he's still Riker. So you saw the part where they got to the planet. Did you see the part where he got to see Riker? What Riker did?
No. He has just met Counselor Troy, and she's having the conversation with him like, you're in trouble. How bad is it? And that's basically when you messaged me, and I was like, okay, I've stopped it right there.
Yeah, basically he goes inside, and like Riker's inside doing some cooking, but like Riker's always kind of done cooking things, so I'm like, okay, they're not trying to cuck him as some like housewife thing.
Is he cleaning though?
No. He's just yeah, that's why I sent you that one meme. Riker's Pizza. He makes pizza.
Oh, okay, cool. I'll check it out.
He freaking makes pizza in the but it's more so like there's this whole thing where he and Picard are talking, and Riker kind of brings about that charm, and you find out a little bit about what's been going on since then, and they have a kid. You saw that,
right? I saw the kid come in,
but cool. You learn a little bit more about the kids they have or had. There's that. Anyways, there's a whole thing.
I'll check it out.
And then most of the episode is just them figuring this out. Like, it's a good place that he went to kind of hide out. But
obviously not for long, because Android Doctor, she's got a tracking device. Yeah.
That whole thing is weird. I don't.
How they've introduced that information is just it is shit. It's very poor writing.
Well, yeah, the whole thing where she just like so you saw the part where she like talked to the Vulcan intelligence person.
Yeah, the Vulcan in black. Well, she wasn't wearing black, but like the MIB ripoff. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. And then she's like, because this is what'll happen. And she just grabs her and does a mind meld. And I'm like, Vulcans don't fucking do that. That's a violation. That's like
exactly.
But I'm thinking, like, if she's some sort of plant, or she's some sort of, morally ambiguous intelligence officer, okay, maybe, but still, like, Jesus Christ, let me just take your mind over quick. And
but even with that, how the hell does she know? Right? That was my question. It's like, how the fuck does she know that? How does she know if synthetics live, it's going to be this fucking Armageddon kind of thing? Like, because nobody fucking knows that.
She's probably been, like, brainwashed or planted by the like, this is the Romulan sphere. The Romulan sphere.
Sure, I get that.
Synthetics are going to fuck things up.
Sure, but she's showing her images and stuff like that. And if I got those images and stuff like that, I'd be like, wow, that sounds really terrible. How do you know? Like, nobody fucking knows.
Well, and they show how did they get those images? So it's probably like.
Do they show that? Do they show how they got those images? Do they explain that?
Yeah, they do explain it at one point, like where those images came from.
Right.
And then also, the thing about those images, like with a mind meld, it is an expression. Like, they are sharing more than just images. It's like thoughts, feelings, emotions.
Feelings, yeah.
So whatever fear they got put in them about androids is being put into her, which is why she freaking pukes.
Yeah. So that's well. But even with that, would that be enough to kill her friend? Well, he was kind of her lover, right? The professor.
The guy chasing them?
Yeah. No. The robot guy that died. They had a whole episode pulling him out, and then they killed him last minute. It was
probably some whole thing about like got to get rid of him kind of thing.
Right, I get that. And you see, this is the terrible fucking writing that these people are doing. It just it's so fucking bad. I mean, we've seen the end of so many franchises this year. We've seen the end of Terminator, right? That's done. That's gone to shit. We've seen the end of Star Wars. Technically, it ended in the previous movie, but all right. We've seen the Doctor Who. Star Wars is Star Trek is definitely that was probably done since last year, to be honest. Yeah, these people have taken the biggest franchises in entertainment history, and they've managed to destroy it in 1 year.
Let's just hope Ghostbusters doesn't get fucked.
Oh yeah, I forgot about Ghostbusters. That was destroyed in what, 2016.
Well, I mean, you gotta realize though, like with that, like I've been telling people, I said, it's funny, they got this new, Ghostbusters 3, and it completely just skips over the end, the reboot. It just didn't happen, and I think that's great.
I think that's brilliant.
And maybe that's going to redeem it.
That's I was about to say, the director of the new movie is the son of the director of the originals. And his quote is, "It's time to take this franchise and give it back to the fans." Kind of implying that, 2016 was not necessarily for the fans, right? Kind of a jab at the Wahmens, right? So I'm hopeful. It looks kind of cool.
And it sucks too that Patrick Stewart didn't see this coming with Picard. Oh, it's just gone to shit.
They all want to be at Battlestar Galactica. They want to do Battlestar Galactica, Star Trek, Stargate, and Stargate Atlantis as well. Plus,
I mean, at least Stargate Universe, while it was trying to be Battlestar Galactica, it was still watchable.
Well, yeah, that was the point I was going to make. Is the Star Treks and the Stargates were very light sci-fi entertainment, right? Stargate, yes, you'll get into a situation, but it never had that dark, ominous. You knew they were going to pull out.
But even in Universe, they kind of went a little dark. There was some.
They did weird... go dark, yeah, and it became very sexual, and everybody's fucking everybody, and all that. So they tried to do a little bit of that Battlestar Galactica, and it was definitely more dramatic. And they never really gave a hopeful ending. We never really. I mean, they'll pull out of every situation.
Well, it was never hope. There was no ending, really.
There really wasn't.
Canceled. Oh, okay.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah, it was unfortunate. I probably would have. At the time, I hated it. I really hated Universe when it first came out. It took me like DS9. I just couldn't get into it. It took me about a year or two to go back and actually watch it, kind of away from the SG-1 and away from Atlantis. And I kind of watched it as a new show, and it's like, this is actually really good. But because of the lineage it's coming from, thing. It's too drastic. Yeah, it was too drastic.
It's the same thing with you're going to realize that with DS9.
Yeah.
It's a very different show compared to Voyager and Next Generation, that you have to kind of separate yourself from the other shows to watch it properly. You'll see. I mean, you can, once you've kind of gone through and you understand it, you can definitely mentally kind of bring it back to the canon and see why it is what it is. I mean, it's basically, it's a space station. It's you gotta go about it differently. There's the phenomenon. Yeah, the shit that happens is not, we're in a different part of the galaxy or whatever. It's something happens with this, something happens with that, and there's, of course, being that they have other goals in place, they got to explore the political intrigue, the religious problems, involving another quadrant. It's funny, DS9 and Voyager are both involving different quadrants of the galaxy.
And you do realize that actually caused the problem, right? That the location that Voyager was at was closer to the wormhole. They kind of the fans are arguing, well, why didn't they just jump through the wormhole to Bajor? It would have been a quicker trip.
I watched a video on a theory about that, and basically they said they probably figured, because it actually, I mean, the showrunners obviously didn't consider that, but theoretically, if you consider the canon and everything, Probably would have been a more perilous journey.
More perilous to go into
the middle of Dominion space.
Okay.
Probably get shot at all the goddamn time.
Well,
no
possibly,
cloaking device.
Possibly. Yeah, possibly. But I saw that episode where the cloak didn't even work with the Dominion, which is pretty cool.
Well, yeah, that's what's interesting. They get better at using it later on. They still use it later.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sure it's the ace in the hole, as we'd say. It's interesting. It's interesting. It's getting interesting. DS9 is getting interesting. We'll see. I'll let you know.
The war doesn't like fully become a war until like season 5. Like it's a lot of build up and tension, and there's a lot of conflict along the way. But the full on war doesn't really play out yet.
Good. As I say, I'll stick with it, and I'll see where it's going. And speaking of war, I heard that Trump went and bombed a whole bunch of sites in Afghan after he signed the peace treaty with the Afghans. Do you know what's up with that?
I don't know about that.
Yeah. So Trump declared victory over Afghanistan and basically signed a peace treaty. And then some fucking drones went in and shot the shit out of some location in Afghanistan.
Oh, boy.
So, yeah. Go peace, peace. It's great.
Oh man, what the heck? It's. I see that. I mean, the meme of Clown World is getting a little old, but every now and then I just think back on it, like, yeah, it's fucking Clown World at times.
Yeah. So, sometimes it really is. I mean, so how are you stocking up for the end of the world that's now made in China?
I'm not. First confirmed case of coronavirus appeared in Minnesota like 2-3 days ago. Some old lady caught it on a cruise, and so then the concern is, did she pass on anyone else? Anyways, I mean, she's quarantined. We don't know if anything's happened to her yet. I know there's like cases across on the coasts where a handful of people have already died from the condition, but still, at its worst, coronavirus is just a bad flu.
Well, no, at its worth, it'll fucking kill you, right?
No. I'm just saying is like it's still not as deadly as influenza that goes around all the time.
Oh no, it is far more deadly than influenza, right? Influenza is like
death rate.
This is now clocked at about 5%, and if you're over 80, it's like 15%. So yeah, that's the idea that it's not as bad as the flu is fucking bullshit. That's garbage.
Oh,
yeah, because that's what we get for listening to the Chinese. That's what China is saying. But now that we have cases in actual developed countries that aren't run by state-run propaganda machines, and we're clocking stuff, it is high. But obviously, if you're younger, it's a lot safer. Like for my demographic, I think like 30 to 39 or 30 to 35 to 40 or something. It's about a 3% chance, which is not terrible.
It's nice knowing you, Brook.
Yeah, well, it's been good. You can have my microphone. Well, we'll see. We'll see what's going on. I think in the UK it's crossed 100. We've had over 100 cases out here. I'm actually trying to look up the numbers now.
Yeah, I mean the states in general have got a good few, and there's definitely a couple of deaths and stuff. A few deaths. Governor Cuomo over in New York is definitely trying to keep everyone calm and stuff. I mean, I'm not too concerned out here still. I mean. Yeah, it's fucking Minnesota.
Fuck me, 273 cases in the UK. My God. Almost 500 in the US. Jesus Christ. You think you'll make it to number one?
Number one.
We're number one.
We have the most cases. Oh, shit.
Yeah, you're ahead of us in the US. You're just behind Japan. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, Yeah, yeah. We're all up there. We're all up there. I did not know that UK got as bad as
Told you about
273.
the plane tickets to Taiwan prices are going way down, right?
Good. Have you booked for Taiwan?
No, I haven't yet. Beginning of the year, when we were first looking at buying tickets, it was like $1,400 a ticket round trip.
Yeah.
It's about $700 or $800 right now.
In fact, because of some very obscure regulation with the EU, the planes that fly to Europe. So I think who's quarantined off in Europe. Italy looks like it's going to be one. And of course, well, not in Europe, but China. All direct flights to China are empty. They're not out. But because any airline that's based in Europe, they have to keep flying the flights, otherwise they will lose their rights to fly through the airspace and their airport rights. So right now, there's a bunch of fucking planes with nobody on them just flying between Europe and China and flying between Europe and Milan and all this other kind of shit.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, this is the kind of level of insanity of policy in the EU. But the question everybody wants to know, Amos, is have you stocked up on toilet paper?
No.
Nothing.
I have not stocked up any toilet paper. Granted, I am down to one roll right now, so.
I'm literally, I just pulled up my Facebook here, and a friend of mine, she just said, "Oh my God, cannot believe the manic Tesco, which is our supermarket, like your Walmart, how manic it was today. What has gotten into everyone?" The panic is probably going to be worse than the disease. And I do not want to get tased or pepper spray. Well, we don't have tasers out here in the UK. I do not want to get, teabagged or, hot scalding water or something thrown on me fighting over like the last can of baked beans or the last rolls of toilet paper or some shit. So me and my house, we have stocked up for a month. I think I got enough toilet paper. In fact, when I was just in Wales, I came back. When I was in Wales, I bought like a 4-roll of toilet paper because I use toilet paper. I don't want people to be out. I actually brought back 3 of the 4 in my bag.
Jeez.
So we got a stockpile of toilet paper. I got a water distiller and carbon filter, so we could take the tap water and it'll boil it, condense it, pass it through the carbon filter, and clean it out. So at least we wouldn't run out of water. My mask should be here this week with, I think it's washable and it's reusable, but the fucking thing's coming from China. So God alone knows.
Yeah. So what you got to do is buy up as much toilet paper and face masks as you can.
Yes.
To sell back to people.
Well, that's exactly what I'm planning on doing. And I was trying to tell my flatmate that he doesn't seem to understand how to ration goods. So we went out and we both bought 6 5 liter bottles of water before I got the distiller. And I said, right, these are the stockpile. But I see his wife has been using my water, so I'm down to like 3. I was like, bitch, this is not what you're supposed to do. It's supposed to be stockpiling, right? You use one and you replace it. That's how it stays a stockpile. It's not there for you to use. But obviously, these guys have never been in a hurricane. They've never been in any kind of disaster. My friend is using up all his toilet paper. Fucking hell, man. Jeez, people have no idea, how to do this thing properly.
Yeah, no, I'm fine here.
Well, so you say that until you go to buy toilet paper and there's none.
No, I'm pretty sure there's not much of a panic where I mean, you know where I am here in Minnesota, and there's probably not much of a panic here.
Probably not. Hopefully not.
And then I went, I told you last week, I went up to go see our friends up north, and they were all kind of joking about coronavirus. And I was like, yeah, if coronavirus ever somehow got really, really close to me, I'd probably go up there.
Right.
Just chill for
Yeah. I mean, that would probably be the place to camp out. And I'm sure that, our friends up there are well stocked because they kind of run a hotel kind of scenario. So they must be well stocked on everything, and they could last out a month or 2.
They got guns.
And they got guns, you know. Out here, not so many guns, but I think I'm good for a month. Like if it all went south and they told us to quarantine for a month, I think I'll be okay. My biggest concern is that I'm supposed to be flying out to Trinidad in a couple days, a couple weeks actually. My concern is one, getting there, and the second thing is being able to get back. Because if shit kicks off in London, and I mean, if anywhere it's going to kick off, it's fucking London, because the world passes through London. That might get complicated pretty quick.
A lot of the world passes through Minnesota too.
Yeah, it's a big hub. New York is another one. Where are most of the cases for you guys then?
The one case, you mean?
Well, okay, the one case for you, and then for the rest of the country.
The one case is in St. Paul.
In the city, yeah, okay.
In the city. And then all the cases in the states, those states as a whole, pretty much along the coasts.
So the coast.
Any major city or coastal city. Like,
okay.
You know,
New
so
York,
it's pretty,
Washington.
so I'm hearing, so like, yeah, Washington, New York are the two big ones from what I've heard. And then just, yeah, they're just spreading. I mean, maybe Texas. But I mean, yeah, it's funny. Like, it's still, you know, it's dangerous, it's nasty, but it's still not that bad. Like, it could be a whole, like, the way that I keep hearing it talked about is, someone I know basically was telling me, like, you know, she was worried about her parents getting it. Because her parents are, like, in their late 40s, early 50s and such. And I'm like, and we were, like, just looking, even just the most, like, the more, if you want to call it liberal numbers of, like, how deadly this can be. We were like, yeah, still. You're in the Western world. You're in a first world country. You're probably going to be fine. And they're like, oh, like, if, you know, this thing can kill them. It's like, did they have a compromised immune system? Are they frail? Well, no. Then they're probably going to be fine.
I mean, it is worse. I think in 15% of the cases, you can develop severe pneumonia where you need to be hospitalized. You need to be in the ICU. It's not that they can't treat it, but it is very violent. And that's where most of the people, you know, they die, you know, especially the elderly and so forth, because
elderly probably
recover.
as in like 60 plus, 50, you know, 60, 70 plus years old.
Yeah, it starts rising. I'll see if I can find the graphic with the breakdown, but it starts rising after your 50s. The percentage of possibility of death is it goes up from there.
Yeah, but still though, like, I mean, you got to have a couple of factors too, don't you? Like, actually being unhealthy or just weak in person in general.
I mean, yeah, if you're yeah, I mean, if you have diabetes or any kind of chronic disease, it's going to make it worse. So smokers, that could be an issue. Obviously, drug users, that's a possibility as well. I mean, but if you're overall healthy and you're not compromised with anything else, yeah, you have a pretty good chance of, you know, it wouldn't be that bad. There are in fact two strains. So there's the L and the S strain. I think the L is the most common one, but the S strain is more deadly.
So what are they calling it? COVID-19 L and S?
Yeah. Well, they've categorized their two strains, and I think the S one, it's a stronger protein chain, and as a result of that, it could be airborne, it could for longer, and it has like a higher death rate. But it hasn't been found outside of China. China's the only place that has it so far.
Well, of course, it's only China is the perfect place for it to mutate at that point.
that of course is the other risk, is at some point, you know, the mutation switch could kick on and then suddenly fucking organ failure, right? So
oh, fucking video games, man. Fucking pandemic. Yeah, just, you know, let everyone catch the common cold, then flip fucking organ failure. Because that's how diseases work.
I mean, it is a little more complicated than that, but a lot of people probably don't know this. Like, a virus will actually enter your system, attach itself to a cell, and it encodes its own DNA into the cell to produce more of itself.
Yeah.
And every so often, it doesn't work. Like the cell just doesn't respond. But that genetic information actually gets passed on to the next generation of people. So there's like 4% of the world population that actually has within their DNA influenza. Like the fucking virus is part of their DNA. How crazy is that?
Yeah. I mean, there could be viruses that go back so far that we don't even know because we weathered them out and their genetic code is like somewhere in our DNA.
It's possible. It's very, very possible.
Some ancient virus that we just, if it came up with just nothing would happen. Because you remember, I mean, what was the big killer in War of the Worlds? What killed the aliens?
Yeah, it was the
diseases
bacteria.
Diseases and microbes that used to hurt us but don't do anything to us anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think it's big part probably could be tracing back to like just our bodies obviously have a natural immunity to probably more than we think.
I mean, that's what killed a lot of the Native Americans when the Europeans came over. It was
So we were talking about this yesterday, and so I was playing my Dungeons and Dragons campaign with some friends online, and we're talking about all this. And as we talked about all this, we so in the game itself, you have it's your fantasy setting and such. In our last game, our characters encounter this caravan of dwarves, and they came. Guess where they came from? The East. they weren't like Asian or anything like that. The dungeon masters make them that way, but he just like in the beginning of the game he goes, "So are you guys going to screen the dwarves for diseases?" And we're like, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, just make sure they're okay." And I'm like, "Yeah," and as a thank you for their help and their company, we're going to give them some blankets. So I had a little fun with that, but yeah.
So some people may not get that because not everybody's familiar with American history.
In American history, basically one of the means of the ways that the colonists basically killed a lot of the Native Americans was they gave them blankets infested with smallpox. Exactly. Well, obviously the Europeans are all been pretty much immune to it. So once they gave it to the Native Americans, they immediately were overcome with the disease, and it killed off like a large sum of them.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a little bit of disease humor, epidemic humor,
a little epidemic humor.
Dwarves with coronavirus and us trying to give them smallpox or whatever. But
I'm gonna share my screen for a second here. Let's see if I can I do this? Let's see. Share screen. Yep. Okay, so here we go. This is the so Business Insight. These are the death rate per country.
Mm-hmm.
So far in the U.S. it's 5.9. On the low end is Switzerland with 0.5.
What? We have the highest death rate?
Sorry? Yeah, you do. You're number one.
Fucking
And this is the death rate by age. So it's 0.2 generally. So this is like pretty much normal flu up to 39. I'm still 39, so I get 0.2. But as I say, it starts to jump when you get into your 40s, mostly in your 50s. But the 80s plus, it's pretty high.
You're dead.
Yeah. So for our listeners, it's for 80 plus years, it's 14.8%. 70 to 79 is at 8%. 60 to 69 is 3.6. 50 to 59 is 1.3. 40 to 49 is 0.4, and everything else is 0.2. And if I'm not mistaken, none of the kids under the age of 9, because as you saw in that on that graphic, it starts at 10. So the first reading is 10 to 19. So no kids under the age of 9 apparently have died. So that's good news, at least. So, yeah, that's a lot higher than the flu. That is, yeah. let's see what happens.
Fucking flu.
Yeah.
What else did we want to touch on? We talked about Picard. We talked about coronavirus.
Talked about Doctor Who. I mean, didn't Trump do a speech about all of the preparation and how? What is it? What did he say? Something about, we had like 59 cases, but that's going to 0. And did you all have like any kind of state of the nation sort of address?
Someone called out Trump on some stuff, and it's understandable. The guy is, I mean, he's just saying what he's saying, and he's like, there's certain topics I think Trump is just not the best equipped to be talking about. Not even just because he's not an expert, just dire situations that require a certain touch, a certain feel to it. He just kind of, everything's great. We're doing great. Nothing's wrong. Like, it's not like he's going to do the whole, like, nothing's wrong, nothing to worry about. But he just plays too much of, like, we're the best, everything's great. Yeah. We're gonna cure everyone of this disease, and it's like, I mean, it's not that bad yet, still, but like, don't make it sound like it's nothing. You're puffing your chest out so much that you kind of forget, like, this is not the time to do that. This is the time to kind of, like, we have a task force. We're working with them. We're taking, using, here's the measures, here's the ideas. Like, I don't know if you read the article about how Taiwan is dealing with coronavirus.
No, I haven't read anything.
How Taiwan is using big data, and like, the thing about Taiwan is, it's one of those rare cases that I will, like, just fully admit, like, where government is actually utilizing proper resources to do its job.
Yeah.
I think it was back in the 80s, there was like a point when Taiwan declared martial law, and there was a lot of trampling on civil rights and all this. Totally, wrong, not good. But in times of need, especially like now, when Taiwan needs to utilize a lot of its state resources to monitor its citizens, to control everything, just to do all that, it's good. It's actually helping them. They're using a lot of smart technology and just smarter approaches to integrating their, I think, what is it? They're integrating, like, their immigration databases, so like all the in and out and flights, along with their health database, because they have a nationalized healthcare system. So they're basically connecting everything together to properly run, calculate risk profiles. Okay, look at people's travel history. How are we going to tackle suspected cases, quarantining them, making sure diseases aren't spreading. Also, proper procedures with how to deal with crowds, telling people to stay home, shutting down schools.
Yeah,
like, it is very authoritarian if you look at it strictly from that lens. But at the same time, they're one of the few countries that's not getting fucked over by the disease. China's screwed. Like all these other countries, these third world countries that don't have these types of systems, are all screwed. And so it's really just South Korea. I mean, Japan is Japan. So South Korea and Taiwan are pretty much your two that are, like, keeping the numbers pretty restricted, like, capped off. Yeah. They're not just exploding with it. Whereas Japan, it being Japan, it's still very difficult to control. Oops, something there. But it's I was looking at that, and, like, my mom and my sister over there, like, there's a lot of strict procedures in place, but there's no, like I would feel safer there if I was in Asia.
Right. In Taiwan.
Yeah. Which is why, with the ticket prices dropping and such, I'm just like, great, cheap play for me to go there. Like, when SARS was going on, I flew back to the States just fine.
Right.
When I was
as long as you can, once you could get out and get back in, if you have to, I think it's all right. We'll see. I'll let you know. In fact, because I have an Italian friend. Did I mention this? He's in Milan right now.
Yep, you told me.
And Milan is being quarantined and stuff.
He had to fly to Rome and drive back to Milan, he said?
Yeah, no, his girlfriend That was it. But yeah, he said he'll keep me posted because he doesn't know anybody who's sick. Doesn't seem like anybody's sick. At least not in his vicinity. I don't know anybody either.
Yeah, because I'm in a Facebook group that's sharing a lot of information. Granted, the group it's devolved into a little bit of shit posting, but memes like and stuff.
Oh, there you go.
but and there's a little more fear than I think is necessary. Like just a lot of it's gonna I mean, some people are stocking up quite a bit. Like every other week, it's like the same guy that's posting, bought another 20-pound bag of rice, bought another 20-pound bag of rice, bought some more masks, and it's like, okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Not quite there yet, but I see where you're coming from, kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, those things are all sold out. Especially out here, like the hand sanitizer. Like I have this little one here. And
Purell's making all the money now.
They're making shit. No, I don't know whose Carex is. I don't know who that is, but apparently you can make your own with gin. So I might have to do that, which sounds awesome. So
yeah, you haven't seen that? Like Purell is making a shit ton of money now.
I've seen a lot of the memes, like all of the cleaning companies. They're doing Scrooge McDuck memes and Burns from The Simpsons. Him and Smithers throwing money at each other.
Yep.
Oh God, I love it. It's absolutely great. But I mean, seriously, I would rather get the virus now, man. I'd be like, you see in the UK with our NHS, fuck. While there are beds available, I'd rather get it now and just be done with it. That's kind of my attitude at this point.
I'd be like getting it and then like use it as a way to if I got it, I'd still try to do the podcast.
Yeah, we could. I mean, once you're indoors and you self-isolate, depending on how bad you're coughing and if you can breathe, that would help.
Like, hey, welcome to Take Care Run podcast.
COVID-19 edition.
We're going to keep doing the show. Doctor's coming in. What are you doing? Doing a podcast.
We got to give something loyal fans,
Yeah, I'm like, this is how we're going to get more fans. Catch the coronavirus.
Then you get interviewed by one of those bigger, television stations, and boom, we go viral. That's how it goes.
Literally. That's the joke now. Is fucking going like everyone's just like, ironically using the term "going viral" as a way to just
to troll the virus.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, it's fucking crazy. What else is there going on, man?
There's so much else going on. I mean, out here, it is the virus is kind of becoming a story. I'm not too worried about it. Me and the guys have stocked up. I just hope they're not stupid enough to start using their stockpiles now. Hopefully they understand how this works. And I think our president, our prime minister Bojo, he actually made a statement to the nation, because we do expect it to get a lot worse out here. London is a very big hub. We have a lot of traffic. But he did say that if anybody has to, stay home from work or anything like that, they will start paying that person their salary immediately.
Oh yeah,
like a government program. So
why not just overextend the government even more?
Oh, he's done a very good job of that, of overextending the government. He's spent money that we didn't even know we can borrow to at all. He's really pledged a hell of a lot of fucking funds. So yeah, what's a couple billion more, on top of everything else. So not much of a conservative, if you ask me, but I do understand why he's doing it. So we'll see what happens.
Oh, you know what? We could talk about for 15 minutes.
What's that?
Did you read that whole thing that I sent you that our friend Conk sent us?
No, I haven't read the whole thing.
So, I mean, we can briefly touch on it. I mean, I think it's good. We could spend a good episode discussing it too. But basically, so our friend Conk from the old Red Pill Manosphere place, whatever you want to call it.
You can plug the group if you want, I guess.
Well, no. He's. I mean, he's one of the guys that I know from Richard Cooper's men's community. But he's been on our show before a couple times. Good guy to talk to. But he sent me this article. He sent me this thing to look into. So you get a lot of these like different theories on psychology and how the brain works and whatever. And there was one that he touched on. He sent it to me, and it was talking about what's called like basically the super masculine brain, or like the extreme masculine brain. I think that's what it was.
Right.
And
Yeah.
it was like this whole theory where there's some studies that look into like in fetal development. I think it was like during that development stage, like high testosterone versus high estrogen, what kind of things can happen. But mainly, this one was talking about high testosterone. So high testosterone during development leads to basically men that'll be born with autistic behaviors, not autism, but more autistic behaviors, more technically minded, rational minded, less empathetic, less emotionally driven, which basically kind of distinguishes the differences between men and women. Men are more, as Jordan Peterson puts it, men are more into things, women are more into people.
Yes.
And then everything connecting to that. So it was just really funny. Like he was just pointing out, like basically what this theory is suggesting is the more masculine you are, the more artistic you are.
Yes. He did mention this to me.
And well, then we kind of like, okay, well, what's the reverse then? What's the extreme female brain?
Interesting question.
We were kind of going into like, pure emotionalism.
Yeah.
Like completely being driven by emotions. We're like, oh shit. Bipolar disorder. Bipolar, borderline, stuff like that, where, women are so driven by emotions that there's very little rationality.
Yeah.
The whole, I had a dream about, you were playing poker with a bear while I was being chased by an alligator, and I get mad at you. And it's like, but that doesn't make sense. But you weren't helping me, or you weren't saving me from the alligator or whatever. It's just a lot of them. That's a little bit extreme, I think, with the dream thing. But like you get a lot of instances where like emotions are more. But then that's the problem: is women can be more emotionally driven, which leads to certain things. But then men who are so technically driven can have problems too. I mean, would you agree if like being socially inept is a big problem?
Yeah, definitely.
But
And I mean, I think we're seeing the rise of that, especially with the younger generation who, raised on smartphones and other things like that. The South Park actually, joked at this a couple of times where Stan's sister had a boyfriend online and she met him in person, and she's all in love with him and stuff like that. And then she meets him in person and they're like, hi, okay, I'll talk to you later. And then they couldn't like talk to each other in person. I think that's definitely on the rise.
Yeah, and so anyone with the smallest bit of social sense or social skills are going to be doing very well. I mean, I've noticed myself, you just a lot of certain, if you want to call it, just certain like social cues and stuff. Not that they fall deaf on me and I just don't notice it, but I definitely have noticed like in times I'll just say certain things, just try to be like, we'll talk about something and we're just kind of strictly in the logical sort of pragmatic sense. And then I've learned that I have to like kind of roundabout say something.
Right.
So if I say, I actually had this conversation with someone. I said it's absolutely ignorant to think that a man in a relationship looking at another woman constitutes like he's being interested in someone else. It's just our nature to be looking at other women.
Sure.
We look at women and we like, it doesn't mean anything. And I was talking to a girl about this. And she's like, never said it was. I said, and I never said that it was directed at you.
Right.
So I pointed out, I was like, see what happened here? I just made a claim on a statement. You immediately took it personally.
Correct.
So it was kind of like but in times I've had to like roundabout say things like, Now I'm saying this, this, and this. Now I'm not saying you do this.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm just saying this is a general thing because I know, like, when I say certain things, it can be perceived as offense or something. Like, and that's the thing is they want to actually people. Well, both men and women will do this depending upon the degree of like their thought process. You'll say something, and they'll perceive it as they might not like consciously just think, "Oh, this is at me." They'll just react that way.
Correct. I mean, it goes back to what was the post that you did from Sean about men can have standards?
So on Facebook, I took the screenshot of Dr. Sean Smith, and it was saying, yes, men, you can have standards. You don't have to save every damsel in distress. You're totally fine with doing. And it's just pointing out like men can have standards. They don't have to save women. They don't have to like date women that have debts or just problems. You don't have to date just pointing it out. Yes. And my whole goal was to post that and see who was going to comment. Like, so here's the problem. If a woman posts something from a woman that said, women, you deserve to have standards, you would mainly get a lot of posts. It's like, yeah, good for you. Yes, it's great to have standards. Whoop-de-doo, praise, and, compliments, stuff like that. Fine. You want to get your little dopamine hit from social media, your little validation. Fine. Fully, everyone does it.
Yes.
But if a man posts, as men, you have every right to standards, so on and so forth. Immediately a woman says, who says you're not allowed to? Where in the post did it say I'm not allowed to? It just says that I can. So immediately it's like the reverse is presumed. Oh, who says you're not allowed to?
Yeah, exactly.
Didn't say that. And a lot of other, and then comments basically going between different, and then a lot of guys that are saying yes, like it's actually more mixed than the tip. Like if a woman posted a similar thing, and people are kind of like sitting there, well, of course, that's just being a person. Of course, you got to have standards. Well, what kind of dumb post is this? And I'm kind of like, it was so dumb that you had to comment to say it's dumb.
Exactly.
And if it was anyone else that kind of posted this, you'd probably like compliment or be nice or just not say anything.
Yes.
So this is the point I was trying to make.
Yeah, exactly.
You post something, and here's the thing too. I had to like keep reiterating because people like there's also other triggers to this type of posting. Oh, so there's a guy I know, big incel energy is what he was like commenting, and I said, see, this is the thing. This is not a grievance. Yeah. It's just a fact. When you post a fact, it's when you post something that's true and people don't like it, they tend to take it as it's a grievance.
Correct. That's usually what bitches do.
Yeah. Yeah, and I even had the conversation on with some people through Discord, and they were talking about so the topic that came up. There was a couple different guys that were talking about this, and I was there too. And what came up was about the passive nature of like Japanese women.
Yeah.
So they're like, well, what is the deal? It's like you go on these dates with these Japanese girls, and you date them like half a dozen times, and then they're just, you're not having sex. It's just kind of odd.
Yeah.
And I said, well, this makes sense. And they're like, well, what do you have to say? I said, okay, before I got into this red pill stuff and all that, like one of the first PUA guys that I heard, and they were like, oh, here comes Amos. And I'm like, well, I just won't talk about it then.
Right.
And then they're like, oh, okay, no, we'll listen. I'm like, all right. So there was this PUA guy way back, and I talked to you about this. He was that guy, like really kind of sleazy, kind of scummy. He talked about like going to Japan, going to the dance clubs, and like you could just take a Japanese girl, kind of just shove her face right into your crotch, and she'll just kind of just go with it. And I said, no, I'm not saying do that, but what it does show is they're so passive that you almost have to go to the point of being a little pushy, we'll just say, to kind of make an impression, or else it's just kind of passive all day long. Like it
No, I
wasn't
get
to
what you're saying.
validate.
Yeah.
It wasn't to validate what he was saying, like just go around and just take girls and put them into your crotch or whatever. But it was definitely pointing out, like, because I've heard of this, like Japanese people in general are very passive.
They can be. Some are like that. I don't know if that's the majority, especially now. But yeah, no,
Well, another
I
thing
know who you're
too
talking about.
is yeah,
Have you ever dated a Japanese girl?
I have not. No, I haven't.
I don't think I've dated Japanese. I did a half Nigerian, half Japanese girl, but she was definitely more Nigerian than Japanese.
But I mean, but you know what I'm saying though is just like it's that passive nature and the approach of dating, and I just thought, like, it's so foreign to us
Yeah,
that we just kind of go, oh, I'm like, so the guy was kind of pointing out like this grandiose sort of display of dominance could work, and I'm like, not to say just do that, but it points out like the clear differences between like how like women in the West would go about it versus women in the East.
I actually don't think there's that much of a difference. It's going mode one, right? As we've discussed in the past, it's going mode one on a woman. That works out here just as much as it probably does there. Out there, you probably don't get as much initial resistance because as the story you shared, I think it was Mystery was the one who said that you go to Japan, and they're just so infatuated by people, you can just like push their hand and put them down.
So I don't think it was Mystery.
I think I heard maybe he might have been telling you about Neil Strauss. Might have said the same thing. It's one of those guys, but it was in that circle at the time that shared that story. I know I heard it from Mystery. I don't know if he was telling somebody's story or not, but it's mode one. It's mode one. It's cutting through the bullshit. In fact, I have a mode one. I don't have a mode one. I got outmoded this weekend at a party. Right, I met this girl, and she invites me over to meet her friends and stuff. We're hanging out at the concert, blah 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 blah. I'm dancing with her, and I'm listening to her story and stuff like that. And then another guy shows up, and he goes full on mode one. Right, and I did not see that girl again for the night. I got completely outmoded. Right, and I shared with you that I was kind of pissed at that. Like, fuck, I should have just done that. But I actually do want to talk to people in the area because I might be moving out there. So I was not really looking for that.
Yeah.
But I felt kind of shit afterwards. But that shit works. I think in the West you'll get more resistance. So you tell a girl, yeah, for those who don't know, mode one is a direct communication. It's not screaming at a girl from across the room, hey baby, you got great tits, I want to fuck your tits. No. It's cutting through the bullshit, saying directly what you want, what they usually want to hear, but you have to say it usually very close in a very intimate setting. So that's mode one.
Well, I think I've told you I've used it before successfully in small bits.
Yeah. As have I. I've done it a couple of times and it's like, holy shit, this shit works.
Yeah. It's just, I think the problem that I had with it was I did it so much sort of through texting and such, and then I met the person. Yeah. And then they kind of like dialed back a bit, and I was like, oh crap. But it's good.
You really have to maintain.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it was just we talked about that to kind of point out like just maybe just the cultural differences. I mean, this is a guy. This guy wasn't like any sort of the guy who was asking this. He's had success, but his success is more so. He would be kind of the more of like the contextual, like alpha type.
Sure.
More of the natural type. Like he understands red pill, but he thinks it's like, to him it's just like, well, of course it's that way. Well, of course it's that. He tends to, like, anytime anyone like talks about it, he tends to think it comes from like you do get these guys that have never heard of red pill, but they know all the truths. And then anytime they come across like maybe like a newer red pill guy who's talking about the same thing, they kind of see it as like pretty beta to them. They're like, oh, you you're just talking about this because you're tired of dealing with women and you don't get sex, and it's like, well, no, it's just there's guys that are learning, and definitely it comes out as like the red pill rage. Yeah, your red pill rage stage is pretty shitty.
Yeah,
Guys that learn just a little bit about how women are, and then they kind of go off the deep end with just like Wahmens.
exactly. Yeah. There is a. I mean, do you have a message for the Wahmen for International Women's Day? I mean, Women's Day.
International Women's Day.
Yeah.
Oh, we should name it. The title is that International Women's Day.
There you go.
Uh, what do I say? Nothing much, really. I don't know.
Nothing, but you got nothing to say. Sometimes saying nothing at all speaks volumes. So to
mean,
all the women out there, we got nothing to say.
I mean, what is there to say? Oh, another year, another screeching day. I don't know. What are they doing?
I mean, for all the strong, independent women out there who suddenly, they need an entire day to encourage their strong and independence. Good luck with that.
I remember posting one thing. It was like, someone did a meme like, Dad, why, there's an International Women's Day. Why isn't there an International Men's Day? And he said, because it takes more than one day to commemorate the accomplishments of men. It's like, oh.
Yes, it's called civilization.
It's called the calendar every day.
Yeah, it's called, every fucking day. Everything you see has been built by a man. So get with the program.
Well, yeah, that's funny. Like, I heard Ben Shapiro talking about something. So I watched a clip from his channel. It was really quite scary, actually. Regardless of what people think about the whole like pro-life, pro-choice stance and whatever, like you got to admit that like the pro-choice definitely has their own level of cringe that deserves to be pointed out.
Oh, definitely.
There was a video. It said like pro-abortion activist acts like Bond villain. I'm like, what the heck? So I click on it. And he says there was this lady that was doing like some sort of Planned Parenthood rally, and this woman basically like hopped on. She's like, I can have this. I'm paraphrasing and probably misquoting a lot here, so definitely go watch it. She's kind of like, I have this. I can go home to my, $1 million home with my great job. Like she was just stating all the great things she gets to experience.
Right.
And then she goes, because I have bodily autonomy. And I was like, wow.
Was that the woman at the Oscars?
No.
That was another one then. Okay.
But still, there's been a lot more of that, like mainstream, just I can enjoy my life. And then Ben's like, you can create an entire human being inside your body and bring life into the world. How is that so bad?
Yeah, exactly.
Now, I get it. Like you and I, we've talked about this. Like, if push comes to shove in certain instances, like it's a tough decision. You got to like,
of course,
because it's not, it's tough to just like, accidentally get a girl pregnant and fuck, that messes up your life. Not that the kid does. It's just the financial costs, the your goals. That's why you want to be really smart about that shit. Condoms
Sure.
and birth control and Plan B that shit if you don't know.
Exactly.
And you see all that, but then the celebration on the other end of that spectrum is just so ridiculous.
The cringe is the right word. Out here in Ireland recently made abortion legal. And if you saw the literal tears of joy that was, displayed by the women at these rallies and stuff like that. And I don't know for me, when I looked at it, it's like, what the fuck is wrong with these people? Like, why are you so happy at the prospect of being able to kill your child? Now we understand it. We understand it's the hypergamous nature. Reproductive rights serves women's, reproductive strategy perfectly, right? We get that.
Yeah, that's the problem too, is it's like, oh, it's if you want a society that allows and legalizes abortions, but you claim to be an egalitarian society, you must also include. We've talked about this, financial abortion.
Yeah, for men.
For men, the men to cut off their ties, because
you can't force parenthood on one at the expense of the other.
Right, and you can't. So,
no, I agree.
That's funny. Yeah, it's like because if you use that logic, it doesn't. Some people might not like that. The idea, like, oh shit, So if you want pro-life, then there must be abortion on the other end, and if you want pro-choice, then that's that.
No, I agree. I completely agree. And like I was trying to explain this to somebody out here. Like there's a friend of mine. He's been prospected by a woman who wants to get onto the dole, which is like the welfare system out here in the UK. And if you're a single mom, there are very good benefits for you out here.
Freaking house, paycheck.
They pay your rent, but they don't give you a house anymore, but they pay your rent. So you figure out whatever the rent is, you get that, and you get money for food and, all this other kind of stuff. So this girl is propositioned my friend, and he's like, would you knock me up so I can get on the dole? And he was thinking about it. And then I met with him and I was like, you fucking idiot. Do you know that in order to qualify for the dole, she has to be getting child support from you? Like, she cannot let you off the hook. She has to get something out of you in order to qualify for all those benefits, which he didn't know. Right? He thought he's just going to, knock the chick up and walk away. Right? And that's not how it works. In fact, it is so serious that there was a guy I think in Chicago, Illinois recently, who knows he's not the father. He's got the DNA test to prove he's not the father. But the woman just put his name down because she had to put somebody. She doesn't even know who the father is.
I think was it paternity fraud is something we talked about. Like, so let's say there's a case where so you have a kid with someone, they grow up to be 18. Let's say on their 19th birthday they get in an accident, they need a blood transfusion, or some sort of something involving the fathers, needing the father's like blood or something. And they do a blood test and realize it's not your kid.
Yeah.
Does the man then have reserved the right to sue the mother?
No. In fact, the man, because it's not about DNA, right? DNA and paternity tests are not standard. It's what's on the documentation. If the mother has put the father down on the birth certificate, that is legal grounds.
No, I know.
Whether the child is his or not.
I'm talking in terms of making changes in the future. Do you think you wouldn't want to like push?
Oh no, I would.
That's what I was getting at. That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah,
there has to be some sort of compensation for the father, consequence for him to like have to. I mean, now is he going to cut ties with the kid? And like, I mean, the kid's an adult now. Like, you can't really force him to cut ties with him. But I think, like, obviously, child at this point, the adult is. He's already an adult at this point, but it's like I think the father definitely reserves a right, should be given a right to like go after the mom. Like,
I think anything that brings like true equality, right? What's good for the goose has to be good for the gander, right? Yeah. If the woman has knocked herself up and she tries to pass off that this is your child and the father supported the child and it's not his child. If he wants to take legal action for her lying, I think he should be entitled to do that. That's damages.
What do you think would be fair?
Oh, I can't speculate on that. But like to show you how this is already kind of taking shape, but on the other side, in the UK now, I think I posted this article recently on my Facebook. There was this law couple, there's two lawyers, recently got divorced. The man had, some rather substantial worth, like maybe 10 million pounds or something like that. They agreed to split everything 50-50. So she's walking away with 5 million. But then the lawyer comes back and says, well, no, she has to be compensated for what her legal career could have been if she did not get married and have kids. So he had to dish out even more money for a hypothetical career that never happened based on her choice.
Yeah, I've heard that argument too. Like when I've talked to people about like I don't believe in the 50-50,
Yeah.
prenups and stuff like that. People will come back. People claim to be, I mean, definitely more rational than your typical crazy ass feminist, but they kind of go in like, well, like, but you're taking away like, she's had that you have to maintain like the lifestyle or at least take care of her because she definitely gave up time to raise kids and all that stuff. Because
Right.
they're like, you believe in traditional, like, you work the job, you're the breadwinner, and your wife takes care of the kids. I'm like, yeah. And it goes, so why do you get to like keep all your money and not give her anything if a divorce happens and now she has nothing? Like she has no
Right.
career built and all that. I'm like, okay. What if I was Jeff Bezos and I as a prenup I said she's given $500 million if she
Yeah.
divorces me? She can live with me and get the 200 some odd billion dollars being the richest man in the world's wife, or she
Yeah.
gets 500 million if she leaves. That's still a lot of money.
Yeah.
Well, but well, she was there for to help him, and she was with him before Amazon, so therefore she should be get equal credit or at least a decent chunk. And I'm like, still,
Yeah. It's a hard stretch to pull
like
out.
like I said, let's say my net worth was 1 million and I married someone.
Yeah.
And let's say in a few years they want a divorce and my net worth is 10 million.
Yeah.
And I just gave them
You're
a
on the
million.
hook for half of that.
But then let's say so people would actually, this person would like disagree that I make them sign a prenup that says they only get 1 million.
Right. Well, I don't I mean I believe in prenups and I believe in postnups. They aren't actually legally enforced in most states, and they're not legally enforced out here in the UK either. They're taken under
So
advisement.
there was something. So I was telling you about this guy Caleb Jones that was on Richard Cooper's channel.
Okay.
He talked about he's married,
Yeah.
but he has a very complex set of legal agreements in place
Right.
where they can be married
Yeah.
but separate.
Okay.
So, but he has to like basically if they ever got a divorce, he has to just pay a $240 filing fee and that's it.
Okay. Well, I'd love to hear how he pulled that off. I'll have to check that
He
out.
he couldn't divulge too much because by divulging, it would change the enforceability of the agreements in place. It
Right.
could jeopardize it. Basically, he said, in a nutshell, is there's a lot of agreements in place that basically say where their finances have to absolutely be separate. She pays her phone bill, she pays her bills, he pays his
Right.
bills.
Right.
She lives with him, but it's his house,
Right.
so she can't take the house.
Yeah.
So they both have their own separate finances, and they can never cross. Because if they ever cross, she can use that to sue him.
Interesting. That's a good philosophy.
So it's literally like it's set like they're only connected by name.
Right.
They're not.
But there's no paperwork.
There's
for
no
anything.
finances connecting. No joint bank accounts. No joint anything. Not even the same cell phone plan or cable. Anything.
Good.
Granted, he could do certain things like she wanted to have a wedding and a wedding ring and all this stuff, and he did all that.
Right.
But there's no joint finances of any sorts. And he said there's also people that will pursue different actions like they'll expatriate.
Right. They go to a different country.
Or just don't. They just don't have a country per se. There's ways
They give up.
you give up.
Give
I
up
mean,
their citizenship.
you can basically operate within the states, but then you have no access to credit, no access to certain types of banking.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you have to go through less than, I mean, definitely legal means, but just different means of like living in a house, so anyways, there's ways, but it's
complicated.
It's very complicated, and you can't really talk about it.
Interesting. I'll look into that joint account thing because that actually makes a lot of sense. How could you say I'm maintaining her lifestyle when I never maintained her lifestyle? Right. That's
the agreement that he had to like draft up with his lawyers with her to be like, we can live together and have the same name, be totally married, and possibly even have kids and whatnot, but like our finances are never going to mingle.
Yeah. I'm gonna explore that because I understand the concept of what it is. It's I never maintained her lifestyle, so how could I continue to do something I've never done? So that's actually brilliant. And I'm going to look into that. But we're well past time here, Amos. I don't know if there's anything else. I don't know if there's anything else.
I think we're good here.
Yeah, definitely. Any announcements for next week or anything?
No, I mean, I know you. We talked about I think a couple of people we know about are in the same boat here, but we've been trying to get Robert Frank on.
Yes. Well, now that I'm back from Newport, I'll send him another message, and we'll see what we can sort. His voice is kind of fucked up. I don't know if you heard the last podcast. He's fighting another fucking cold. But we'll get on that.
All right.
Because I'm traveling on the 19th, so we'll see what we can do.
Well, again, thank you everyone for joining us today. Of course, definitely check us out on our social media, as below on our names right there.
For the listeners, it's in the description.
Yes. And then, of course, subscribe to the channel, comment, let us know what you think, share with a friend. Go tell everyone.
And everybody keep washing your hands. Don't die.
But anyways, we will see you guys next week, of course. And thanks for watching, guys.
Thanks for watching, everyone.
Oh.